How's it going, everybody? Thank you for checking my channel and welcome to today's video. Before we actually jump into the topic of the video, I want to make sure to remind you guys that if you want to skip the parts that interest you most, there are timestamps down in the video description that you guys are welcome to use at your discretion, because this intro is going to be a little bit longer than usual. But for any of you guys that have been a sub on my channel for a while, you know how much fun I've had with making Uber content, such as the beginner's guide for Uber Tristram for all the versions of the game. That includes the mods, Battle.net, and even Diablo 2 Resurrected, to doing build guides for both endgame and budget gear characters, and even mass torch ID videos, the first one being for 50 torches, and the latest being the 1000 torch ID series that is now live on my channel. And from the series, I did have some key sets left that I had no idea what I was going to do with, if I was going to do anything at all. And I figured, if I'm to try this idea and it's successful, that would be great because I can turn it into content which you're going to see today. But if it's a failure, nothing lost, nothing gained, because I otherwise was not going to do anything with the keys, but now they are just completely gone. I don't have to worry about them anymore. This video idea is something I wanted to do for quite a while now and was not sure if it was actually going to work. However, when watching Mr. Llama SC do a no gear naked speedrun of the druid from normal to hell difficulty.
A naked druid all the way through hell. Come on, die already.
I figured it was a good time to get this idea go to see if gear was actually going to be needed to be able to kill Ubers.
Ubers time! Yeah, for sure. That seems possible.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions about this video, so the first one I'm going to go ahead and address. Why did I choose the Summon Necromancer? When it came to thinking of characters that can actually do this run, I immediately just disregarded all of the melee characters because of the fact that they'd have to be up close and personal with the Ubers, making survivability just be thrown out the window, especially for facing Lilith, Duriel, and eventually Mephisto if they can even make it that far. From there, it left me with just the caster characters, and there were two important things I had to consider to be able to make this build work. One was the ability to have really good AoE, and or two, to be able to have summons, so that way my character can play more of a support role. My first idea was maybe a Hammer Den, however, that was quickly scrapped because yes, when it comes to both the Furnace of Pain and the Forgotten Sands, he does have a wide area to be able to cast his left hammers. However, when it comes to the Matron's Den, it's pretty much just like the Countess's Tower. You have very little room, and unfortunately because of the positioning I would need to be able to cast the hammers, I barely got through the door before I was killed. And if just getting through the portal was bad, if I did make it to Lilith, she would easily one or two shot me before I can blink. And even taking into consideration, if I did make it to Uber Tristram, I wouldn't even be able to make it past Mephisto because of the fact that he would be able to hit me from such a long range. I would be dead before I even see him. From there, I thought of a previous video where I had my Amazon play more of a decoy role and had my Valkyrie and my Mercenary take care of Uber Tristram by themselves. However, in that video, I did take the blunt of most of the hits for my Mercenary so that way he would stay alive, but with no gear, I would not be able to survive at all. No matter how fast I tried to rejuves either for my character or for my Mercenary, we would die within seconds. Even before getting to Tristram, the Mercenary and Valkyrie combo wouldn't be able to handle Duriel by themselves. As you'll see in this video, with Decrepify, my Mercenary couldn't whittle down his health fast enough, and the Valkyrie, no matter how much she is buffed, wouldn't be able to do enough damage to be able to keep him from regenerating his health. So unfortunately, that idea is completely taken off the table as well. Considering the druid, his summons wouldn't be able to do enough damage by themselves to be able to take on any of the mini Ubers, let alone Uber Tristram. The Assassin's Mind Blast may be something of consideration, however, it does have a time to wear off, and once it does, whatever you use Mind Blast on is now going to be able to target you, so it's not going to be something that would be sustainable even if you continue to Mind Blast. It's just not something that would work. The Sorceress? Unfortunately, even if you did have incredibly high damage for any one of the three skill trees, your FCR would be crippling the damage that you would do, as you would not be casting fast enough. Even with your Mercenary having Infinity, you would not be able to break the immunities enough to be able to do enough damage before the health of the Uber starts to regenerate, causing you to just constantly drink rejuves, give them to Mercenary, and eventually just die. And with all things considered, it left me with the Summon Necromancer, and to my surprise, despite how long it actually took, because this was quite a lengthy video, the gameplay of just trying to be able to get the torches was 2 hours long. Yes, this is the gameplay length, and I'm not trying to subject you guys to any of that. It actually did work quite well, a lot better than I actually thought it was going to do. And I wanted to be able to put what Seer said about the Summon Necromancer to the test.
Despite what annoying bastard guides will say, unless I'm just the worst player of all time and don't understand something, you just need so much stuff to break this build. Some guys suggest you don't need shit at all. Literally, you could be naked to be overpowered, but no, it's just not true. You don't need much to survive. That part's super true. You're really defended with this football team around you, but for offense, you'll sit here for so long as your dumbass army slaps at things.
Since this video otherwise would be 2 hours long, I'm going to be speeding up the parts in between fighting the Ubers because of the fact that it's simply just me trying to either get more Erdars, Maulers. I possibly died. I actually only died at Duriel, go figure. But I'm going to be speeding up the parts that are going to be of less interest when it comes to doing this run. With that main question answered, I want to go ahead and answer a few more common ones that I'm certain people are going to ask. 1, this was done on Players 1 difficulty because there's no reason to do it on any other player setting. 2, this unfortunately was not done in one game. This was done in 4 different games. 3 times I had to save and exit because of the fact that thinking of how weak my Summon Necromancer would be without gear, I had to be able to try to find either the Erdars when it comes to the River of Flame or the Maulers when it comes to the Endurance of Hate level 2. I wanted to be able to actually have enough of them to be able to revive, to be able to take on the Ubers. And trying to be able to do the Ubers by themselves one by one and still have enough of the revives to be able to continue on over and over for each one of the Ubers was not going to be enough. So when I went and actually collected one of the organs from the minis, I did save and exit, started a new game, and opened up portals to be able to continue on with getting all the other organs. Granted, I did try to go and get the other organs from the other Ubers after I got the first one, then the next one, and the next one, eventually leading to Uber Tristram. However, being transparent, it did take 4 separate games, 3 different save and quits to be able to make this happen. But taking that into consideration, when it comes to playing softcore or hardcore, who hasn't done a save and exit to be able to save themselves from losing experience if they were to die against, for example, Gloams, or they get lost in a certain area and they save and exit to the last waypoint, continue on a different path? We've all done it. I felt this was a necessary strategy to be able to take on the Ubers, given how vulnerable my Summon Necromancer would be without any gear. Anything to be able to give him faster run walk, Enigma possibly to teleport, or anything else to be able to buff him up to be able to make it to where the time spent from revive to when they die would be used the best when it comes to fighting the Ubers. Speaking of, I did try to only get the Maulers and the Erdars to be able to help with knocking down the health of the Ubers because they have a 25% chance of crushing blow. And unfortunately it has a diminishing return because it only works with the current health that the monster has. Once that diminishing return starts to actually take effect, my Mercenary would have high enough base damage on his weapon to be able to knock down the remaining health points of the Ubers. Lastly, why would you do this?
Why not?
He's got a point. With all of that out of the way, I want to quickly do a comment shout out for this video, and it's going to be Mickey Christensen saying thank you so much for an amazing year of Diablo 2 content. Honestly, the thank you goes to you guys because of the fact that without you guys, making content like this wouldn't be as fun. And I appreciate all of you guys that support me, whether it be from subscribing to the channel, leaving a like on the video, commenting what you guys think about it, or even just simply watching it. I really do appreciate all that you guys do to help me make this channel even more fun to do. With that said, let's get right into the video.
Not even death can save you from me.
Greetings, mortal. I knew you would find your way back here.
Now we're going to go ahead and discuss the attributes, the skill tree, and the gear leading to the gameplay. But as one last reminder for any of you guys that want to skip just to the gameplay and see how this run goes, please use the timestamps down in the video description so that way you guys can skip to the part that interests you most. This should be really quick. The attributes are real simple, just everything into vitality because of the fact that we need to be able to survive as easily as possible. And you can see that my resistances are trash. They're not at the lowest point, but I'm going to go ahead and explain that in a little bit. Moving on to the skill trees, we're going to start with the one that's the most important, which is the summoning spells. The main skill we're going to be using is Revive, and that's all I used for this build. I did not use any of the raised skeletons. However, I did use a Blood Golem from time to time for 2 different reasons. One, at the beginning, he would be able to help the Mercenary start knocking down the bodies for me to be able to start reviving until I got to the more favorable ones. But 2, as more of a shield in the more risky areas, so that way he can take the potential 1 or 2 hits and give me enough time to get away as necessary. So I went and maxed out Revive for the 24 different revives that I'd be able to get, which is nice because in high density areas such as the River of Flame, where you have the Erdars that could be surrounded by the maggots and maggot young, when it comes to the bodies that you need to revive, if they drop within the same area, it's harder to be able to specifically just revive the one that you want. So being able to have a large amount and get the collateral of the maggot young with the Erdars, as they continue to get more bodies for me to be able to revive, the maggot young would start to die off faster, leaving me with more of the favorable ones. And that was a really good blessing in disguise with that. And then you're going to go ahead and put the max points into its synergies, which is going to be Summon Resist and Skeleton Mastery. For curses, this is the one that's going to be most controversial for some people. I wanted to experiment with this build to see what could actually really work, and I know that with this build I wouldn't be able to put max points into any of the curses. I wanted to just though have at least the option of what potentially could work for certain areas, so I put 1 hard point into everything. I really wanted lower resist to be more beneficial than it was. However, the 3 skills that actually really work the best, and unfortunately Life Tap is not one of them, but the 3 are, starting with the crowd control ones, Attract and Terror. This was really helpful when it came to the Forgotten Sands, because you would have the swarm starting coming after you, the maggots and maggot youngs, making it to where you can't pass them, and just everything else that's in there. It's a really dangerous area, and my strategy going into it was run, find Duriel, and start dragging him to the portal as fast as I could. That way, when it came to having my more favorable revives, they would be alive, go through the waypoints, go through the portal, and immediately start fighting Duriel to make use of all the time that they have, because as you can see here, they only have 3 minutes. So you want to make sure to use every second that you can, and that was my strategy, and fortunately for me, I made it work. But the one that I used the most is Decrepify, and it really especially helped when it came to Duriel. I can't even stress how much this particular curse really benefited Duriel over everybody else. And it, with 1 hard point, made the biggest difference and really was the backbone of this build aside from my Mercenary. The last one's going to be the Poison and Bone skill tree. Now, I went and put 1 point into Bone Armor, and the rest of it I put into its synergy for Bone Prison for 2 reasons. You actually get more from the synergy for Bone Armor than you do actually putting points into Bone Armor. Bone Prison is a great way to aggro other things to you if you want to be able to have more revives and you don't want to walk through an area, or maybe you're trying to cross over one of the bridges in, for example, the Furnace of Pain, and you can't really get through, but to aggro everything over, and then maybe your mercenaries on the other side who start killing things, revive them over there, get across the bridge faster. But I also went and put in 1 hard point into Teeth, Corpse Explosion. I didn't use it because we obviously are benefiting off of the dead bodies to revive, but also into Bone Spear because this really helped with being able to get the attention away from my Mercenary. For example, in the River Flame, the Doom Knights or the Oblivion Knights, to be able to have them, if they're attacking him and putting him into hit recovery, to start attacking me, and I would Decrepify them, slow them down, give my Mercenary enough time to do what he needs to do, along with any of the revives I have, until they can start focusing on the Oblivion or Doom Knight, kill them, have more revives, and continue on. Obviously, I'm not going to do enough damage to be able to kill anything with Bone Spear, but more so as a safety for my Mercenary, because he needs to stay alive for this to actually be able to work. And this was a really good 1-point wonder to do that, to get the attention away from him onto me until he's able to actually walk over and kill them. And now for the part that you've all been waiting for, the gear. Now, when it comes to the inventory, I have my 2 tomes, my Haragic Cube, my Torch and Annie. Because they aren't anything that I wear up here and they simply are just useful in the inventory, I felt that they would be okay to have for this build, especially with the consideration of why my resistances aren't the worst that they could be. Then I have the rest of it being rejuves and mana potions, especially with these being useful with how much I'm using Decrepify and how many revives I was trying to get at a time, because they are on a timer before they actually die if they aren't killed when fighting anybody. So I wanted to be able to maximize my usage of revives as quickly as possible and make every second count for them. The last is going to be my Mercenary's Gear, which is the main idea for this build of making sure it is very important to have the right items for it. And from the top, a Vamp Gaze for the life stolen per hit and the high amount of damage reduced. Infinity for the Conviction Aura, which obviously is not going to work against Mephisto because his Conviction overrides the one that the Mercenary would have, but 40% chance of Crushing Blow with quite a good amount of damage. But the main thing to complement that is Duress. A lot of people are probably going to ask why I'm not using Fortitude, Chains of Honor, or anything else to be able to fight the Ubers. And the main thing with this is, not only is it useful for when I did my Uber Smiter budget build, but the main thing with this is the Ubers need to bleed, because of the fact that I am so vulnerable with being able to rely on my revives and my Mercenary, who by himself would not be able to take on any of the Ubers at all. Being able to have something that is able to keep their health low, or to be able to keep them from regenerating the health, is going to be very crucial, so that way I can benefit the most from each one of the hits that not only my revives do, but my Mercenary does. as well as the 40% faster hit recovery, so that way he takes less frames to be able to get back into the fight. Also, the 15% chance of crushing blow to complement the affinity, so that way he has 55% chance of crushing blow, so that way each one of the hits, every other hit is going to be able to knock down his health even more, so that way the fight ends that much sooner. With all that said, let's get right into the run, and also remember, there are going to be speed up times for the parts that are going to be in between fighting the Ubers that are not going to be as necessary to show because they did take a long time. You will see the sped up amount in the top corner along with a couple of notes so that way you guys can understand what I was thinking while I was doing this run, and I will see you at the end.
Bruh. But I'm not done yet.
Time has come. The final battle against the prime evils draws near. Good luck, Vespio. may yet be your greatest moment.
Proceed, hero.
My brothers will not contact your fate. Greetings, mortal. I knew you would find your way back here.
See you, chump.
And that's it. All done. That is a full run through Uber Tristram with all the mini Ubers from a no-gear, naked Summon Necromancer. I think a world first because I looked everywhere when it came to YouTube, any of the Diablo forums, and I could not find any information on anybody doing a no-gear Uber Tristram run at all. So potentially a world first, if not, it was just a fun experiment to be able to see if it was even possible, and thankfully it was. Granted, we didn't get any good torches from it, but that's just how RNG is. If you want to make sure that you have good RNG though, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification to be notified whenever a new video comes out. And if you like this video, let me know by leaving a like. Other than that, hope you're all staying safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.